Boo, boo, ah, boo. Sorry, folks. I forgot to cue the sound of people booing and audiences getting out of hand and shouting and loud audience. Maybe a few uh, gunfire, what do you call it? Just some loud, maybe like out of an old western or something where you hear them shoot off a couple of rounds at the courthouse or something in celebration or something like that. I forgot to cue that. I'm gonna have to find that a good little transition. Yeah, it's David back again with another live stream. Hope you've all been doing very well. I am here after being absent from streaming for way too long. Life has gotten in the way again and again and again with work, over the road truck driving, and just a whole lot of stuff that keeps me from getting into this the way I want to. But I'm back, at least tonight. It's Sunday, and I can't win for losing. Tonight is the night that a winter storm of epic historic proportions has to be coming through from the north, and who knows if the internet's going to hold. I'm checking Rumble, and I can see that it's holding fast for now, and hopefully it'll continue to do so. So yeah, hope you like that little placeholder video, the countdown video, or hate it, whichever the case may be. I've decided we're gonna use that placeholder video just to help us center ourselves and get nicely disgusted before the stream. I thought it would be best to flip the script, you know. And on these live streams on the Verse by Shape channel, we start out disgusted. That's where we start, and then we improve our mood. Then we get to feeling better after we just acknowledge the world as it is. And as you can see from that little montage of wonderful leaders, past and present, and their adulterous ways, and all the horrible news we're bombarded with on a daily basis, we know the state of things is not good. We're not going to pretend otherwise for a little while on these streams, like we're only just now finding out this news. No, we know it. We all know what's going on. And if you're like me, you've spent the better part of 4 decades educating yourself about just how bad the state of things are in this time and place. So yeah, you're going to be seeing that Do You Want to Funk music montage before most of these live streams going forward. Hope you like it. Hope you think the music's catchy like I do, because we're going to be using it again and again and again. As you can see from the title of tonight's stream, we're going to be talking about Dan Bongino and how he's full of it. Yes, he's full of it. I know this is going to come off as just some Johnny come lately for me. This is old news, but I haven't given my 2 cents about it. And every now and then, as much as I could comment on every possible news item the way so many people do, I just don't have the strength. And more I say, what's the point? But every now and then, something hits so close to home, and you'll find out why as I go throughout the next hour or so, just why this particular news story, this development in the news cycle hit so close to home with me, and why I was going to go ahead and speak my mind about it for just a few minutes. Not make too much of a big deal about it, but just to say another one bites the dust, and there's less to be hopeful about in certain arenas. But how that hope that you did put in certain things now has to be put into some other thing, and that's how it has to be. You can't lose hope. You can't become black pilled, quote unquote. Although I did hear the neatest little, it's a clever thing. It was of a music video, like an AI slash photo, like Google Photos, Photoshop deal. It was a little it was a video with music, AI or not, about Dan Bongino. Profanity laced throughout it. I don't think I would want to play it on this channel, but it was very entertaining, and it was just saying how full of it he is, and that's the way I prefer to say it, how full of it Dan Bongino is, and how horribly disappointed I and so many people like me are in him at this particular point in history. And one of the lines, one of the little lyrics in the thing was, "It's hard not to be so black pilled when I'm seeing so much black." And it was a picture of redactions of the Epstein files. It's like page after page. All this stuff is blacked out. And I'm like, that's clever. I like that. It's hard not to be black pilled when you have every reason to be black pilled. You're being lied to. The truth is being kept from you. And so people become, quote unquote, black pilled. They become ever more cynical. But I don't really subscribe to all the different pills, red, yellow, black, and white, all the precious genocide. The black pill and the white pill and the pink pill. I thought it was pretty simple, just the red and blue pill. You're willing to learn and accept truth as it is. That's the red pill, as at least as the way I thought of it. Even if it goes against preconceived notions. Or blue pill, you want to just don't rock the boat, go along to get along, keep your head in the sand, and just almost like an ignorance is bliss kind of a thing. I thought it was pretty simple when people were just talking about the red pill and the blue pill, but no, they had to go haywire. They had to go all over the place with every different colored pill you can think of. Anyways, what we're going to do tonight on this stream is we're just going to watch some videos. I thought these are so it's true infotainment. These videos of some different content creators on YouTube who were speaking their mind, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to react to their videos and comment as I go, and that'll be what I do for a stream. Just basic reaction videos. I will speak over and through them as they give their take on the disappointment that is Dan Bongino at this point in time. And yeah, we'll just see what happens. But since StreamYards has gone and rearranged some things, I'm going to have to figure out how to share this with you. Okay. Okay, very good. Are we seeing what nope, it's not sharing it. Oh, I just have to click on it. Full screen? Or yeah, let me keep my big ugly mug over to the side. I'm always paranoid that the audio isn't going to come through like in the old days if I have the little side view off there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with Owen Schroyer. Now, I'm not a regular fan of his or a regular listener, but whenever the YouTube algorithm boosts somebody, artificial or not, I might see one of their videos and click on it. And if the title is appealing, like this one was, Deep State Dan Bongino continues to crash out, I couldn't help myself.
Hi, my name is
Hi, we're not listening.
Tami, and I would like to give you a few reasons why you should
We're not faster than I anticipated. We're gonna just go from the beginning. All right, now here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna watch this, and I'm gonna talk over it. That's it. But just to preface things a little bit more, and to get into what I mentioned a minute ago about how this hits close to home with me. I was a listener of. Let me explain. I was a listener of the YouTube upload of the Dan Bongino show for several years straight. Was it 2018, 2019, 20? After 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there, somewhere in those years, it's the past 8 years, Trump's first 4 years, Biden's for 4 years, it became a blur at some point. All I remember is Dan Bongino was filling in for Mark Levin one day, and this is way back yonder, 2017, 18, 19, when I was listening to like I said, I listened to the Dan Bongino YouTube upload, not the actual live podcast. They have a YouTube channel, and that's where I would get my alternative news, from the YouTube upload of their show a day later. So everything I listened to, it was a day late. And the reason I did it that way was because, for one, it just wasn't that important to me to hear this junk as it was being said. I was willing to, just like I am now, I'm not really a news junkie. It's just over time, there are certain things that you get your news from different places. That's all I can say, and you know that as well as I do. And at that time, I was still holding on to Mark Levin, and I have a deep, abiding shame in my mind, in my heart, and my soul at this time that I held on to Mark Levin as much as I did, because even though I always knew I didn't fully like the man's demeanor, I wanted to hold out hope that he was this constitutionalist and all this kind of stuff. But the more and more I listened over the years, more and more stuff just grated upon me until, like today, I'm totally disgusted with the man and I believe he's evil. I don't listen to him at all anymore, and I have better mental health as a result of that, instead of going through the hour and a half hate listen every day. Anyways, Bongino was filling in for Mark Levin one day on the radio show. That's where I first heard of Dan Bongino. And it was on that day or the next day. He was basically breaking news that he had regarding the deep state chicanery, the villainous, treacherous, uh, evil goings on that were transpiring in the government at that time, to weaponize the government, the instruments of government, in spying on the Trump campaign before Donald Trump was elected, accusing him of this, that, and the other after he was elected, to start up the Robert Mueller special investigation, the Russia witch hunt, Russia, all that stuff. He was breaking the news and he was on top of it. And that's what helped really build Bongino's career and boost it right at the beginning. And I was just so hooked on the stuff because, to me, I had like this deep, abiding, I don't know what you, I don't know how know you, how I would describe it. It's a basic passion for wanting to be told the truth is all I can think to describe it, because I become so disillusioned with the whole thing that I don't really even know how to describe where I was coming from at the time, other than, something screwy when you hear it or when you see it. You can't help it. And all my life, having been raised this way, truth, justice, the American way, when I uh, enlisted in the United States Air Force, everyone takes that oath to support and defend the U.S. Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic, all that. Americana, the honor system, all this good stuff, right? Honor, telling the truth, doing what's right. That's what was on my mind. And the more news this guy was breaking, having been a Secret Service agent, having been a police officer, and now a podcaster at that time. And again, this was late 2010s, 2018, 2019, 20. I forget the years. I really do. I guess I should look at the copyright on the books that I have by Dan over here and see exactly when. But who really cares at this point? You all know the history. I'm just catching you up on where I was and how I was right there with you, if you were a fan of Dan Bongino during that time. He was like a bulldog, Dan. He struck me as a guy who was like the real deal, an actual cop who had like walked the beat in wherever it was, New York, how he had been a Secret Service agent for Barack Obama. He had to guard Barack Obama's body. I couldn't do it, but he did for a time until he couldn't do it anymore. And the fact that he was just breaking all this news on his podcast and on the radio show about what was going on, about the lies that were being told, about how people in government and in the FBI and these intel agencies and just high level government, elected and in the permanent bureaucracy, were telling lies and manipulating for partisan reasons, ideological reasons, and in some cases, I think psychological reasons, because they hated Trump that much, like the bully, or like the envious kid in high school who just can't stand the success of the jock, as a that kind of a thing. How it really was a psychological pain that Donald Trump inflicted on people just by being Donald Trump, and how during those years I ended up getting so angry, so ticked off at what was being done to Trump, who I had voted for. And I didn't always like the guy, but I ended up voting for him. I'm like, okay, Mr. Big Mouth, do you really want this? Do you really want this? Do you think you can do this? You think you can do this job? You want it that bad and you're willing to fight? You're willing to get in there and tangle? Okay. He bullied his way to the front of the line, and I voted for him. And Bongino was supporting him, and and then all this happened. It's like you saw the comfortable United States government have a convulsive allergic reaction to Donald Trump, and they tried to spit him out, but they couldn't. And then the 2020 election, which I believe was stolen, because where did all those millions of people who voted go to in 2024? They just ceased to exist. That tells you that was a rigged deal in 2020. And now my mind is very much changed about Donald Trump because of things that have happened. But it's not really about Trump per se tonight. This is about Dan Bongino. We're going to take it one thing at a time and just enjoy this. This is going to be like therapy for me to just listen to 2 or 3 videos and talk over this, because when Donald Trump was reelected in 2024 in the greatest political comeback story of all time of American history, I thought it just might be scorched earth, retribution. I was hoping for deep state arrest. I was hoping for the Epstein villains, whoever they were, it didn't matter to me, to be brought to justice. Public arrests, prosecutions, like this glorious house cleaning of the American government. That was not to be. It didn't happen. What has happened is Donald Trump is too busy being president of the world instead of president of the United States. And he's just got to get on with the normal business, like it is business as usual, when it's not business as usual. We all know it's not business as usual anymore. The debt is too big. The problems at home, culturally, criminally, ideologically, are too big. People are at each other's throats. The problems that stem from decades of mass, unchecked immigration, illegal immigration, are tipping over certain states and certain cities. It's happening right now as I speak. And Donald Trump still has his attention divided between being president of the world, president of the United States of Israel, and trying to do something domestically, and it's just not working out. But again, this isn't about Trump tonight. This is mainly about Bongino. But just to remind you all of the context of where I'm coming from and how I think and how I feel about this, because this is, after all, my channel on my live stream and where you get to know me. Now, let me just shut up and start watching this, and more will come to me as I go. Again, I don't even watch Owen Schroyer except for if a particular title of a video that is recommended actually interests me.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words,
the dramatic.
Now, but credit where credit is due. If I think somebody has some good info, I'll be more than happy to watch their video and comment on it. So here we go. This is Owen Schroyer of the Owen Report.
The dramatic return of Dan Bongino. And did you know it was yesterday? I don't say this in a condescending manner.
Of course not. Pause. Dan's supposed to come back in February something or other. I don't even care, because I'm not going to be listening to him. He, to me, when Dan comes back, is going to be the same thing as literally everybody else. Nothing special about him now because of what's happened and how he didn't come out with the arrests and how he said Epstein killed himself and all this. The only reason I would ever watch Dan from now on is actually for the same reason that I would watch anybody in the mainstream, in the big corporate networks or anybody else, and that is to know, what does he want me to know? What does he want me to believe? What lie, what narrative, what information is he pushing? Kind of like listening to the enemy's, basically, kind of like listening to the enemy's communication, to know what they're saying, but to always regard them as that, as your enemy, as an adversary. Unfortunately, that's where I put Dan Bongino now, with all the rest.
Did you know it was yesterday? I didn't even know it was yesterday. Dan Bongino made his return to the podcast world yesterday, and nobody even cared. Now, I guess you could argue he went on with some girl, I don't know her name. I forget her name, Haley or something. She's had a show for a little bit. Nobody listens. It's like Haley Corona or something. She's one of those gals that gets into on-camera media because she's good looking, but really has nothing to offer past her looks. So it's like you can get by. You can get by on your looks if you're a good-looking woman in media.
Or if you're just an average-looking woman, all you have to do is just be a woman, and you're going to get boosted by YouTube.
So she's one.
Sorry if the screen's freezing up. My little laptop can't handle this. The internet is not doing me well. At least the audio's coming through for the Owen report, if not the video.
One of those types. But so Bongino makes his on-air return or debut post FBI. Folks, nobody even knew. So again, you could argue, well, it wasn't the Dan Bongino show. It wasn't his return to the podcast with some big hype and big announcement and big reveal. But I mean,
it should be huge. It should be huge because it's Dan Bongino, but it's not. He has blown through all his credibility, and nobody cares now.
Still, it happened. And it was like a nothing. It was like a nothing burger. No clips, no viral moments. It happened. It came and went. Nobody even noticed. That's very telling to me. That's very telling to me. The only reason I even found out, the only reason I even knew is because Clint Russell shared this. Bongino went back to his show for the first time tonight, and I was curious how his comment section was looking. Would people accept the betrayal? Answer, no. I scrolled through about 75 replies before finding a single positive one. People are justifiably furious. And so Bongino's response here.
This is insane. I'm so glad I'm so glad I'm watching this and commenting on this tonight. The way Dan talks to people. Keep in mind, this man was basically second in command at the FBI. And the way he words things, the way he talks to people on social media it's not enough to say it's immature or dumb. It's some combination of the two that just shows, I don't know if just to call it ignorant or what. How can you live and make your life and your fortune on social media and these platforms and not know how to speak to people, or at least to fake it or whatever, because so many people are looking and can look at what you're saying.
Mark Dice getting in there. Bongino's response here has been to attack his audience. Now, I did the thrust of my Bongino coverage yesterday. I'm not going to really get back into that. But I do think it's telling. This is worse than I thought. Bongino makes the return to media yesterday, and it has flatlined. And the only result of this return has been Bongino crashing out and blaming his audience and blocking people on X that offer criticism. Folks, that's telling.
Yep.
And I think it's more telling than what we already anticipated with Bongino's return, coming back empty-handed to his show. It's that people now move on from you so fast that you become irrelevant before you even realize it. So it's like Bongino thinks he's still relevant because he's getting these attacks and he's blocking people, and it's like he's kind of getting.
And on the one hand, I might want to say right now, thinking about it, maybe that could be like a blessing for Dan. Maybe if this all just happens really quickly, that he's seen as a failure and a fraud and a really a horrible person for covering up for pedophiles. Maybe if Owen's right, the 24-hour news cycle and the way people's minds are more and more hardwired in the social media age to just move on to the next thing, maybe he can just drift away into obscurity and be totally forgotten about. No, I don't think so, because of how huge the story was. I think Dan would want to be able to just disappear, but it ain't going to happen. And especially because he's trying to come back and make a comeback in podcasting.
Mocked. So it's like, that's kind of like the relevant status is, all right, well, I'm still getting attacked. I'm still getting mocked. So I'm still relevant. But then you go on air and nobody knows and nobody cares. The irrelevance hit a lot faster than I anticipated. I thought when he would go on air, there'd be some viral moments, there'd be some viral clips, there'd be some hype. And we'll see, I guess, maybe when he returns to the Dan Bongino show, how it goes. But it looks like it's already flatlining to me. I don't think anybody's interested really in what he has to say anymore, because I just don't know what you have to say. All the things you've been talking about for 8 years, you just had the opportunity to do something about it, and you didn't. And so now you're attacking your audience?
That is so important. And in case I can't mention it later, I'm mentioning it now. This has been an epic tale. I mean, this is the kind of thing that movies and novels, big movies and great novels would have in them. But this was real life, how a man was on the outside looking in and then was given the opportunity to actually get into the system as the number 2 at the FBI and really make a difference and do something and arrest somebody. And then he didn't. And in less than a year, he's back to podcasting. How is your audience supposed to feel? What are we all supposed to think? It's crazy to me. How many people are ever in that position to be on the outside talking and complaining like everybody else and saying, oh, this is so corrupt, I wish somebody would do something. And then for him to actually be able to go and do it and then say Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Imagine Dan Bongino of 2022 or 2023 talking to Dan Bongino of 2026. That'd be fun. Maybe get an AI to do that. Create that content. But so here you go. I guess this is there are no viral clips. But there was this. I found this.
Star Trek Fleet Command is a strategy MMO for desktop and mobile. You can download it for free throughout
How is Bongino dealing with his upcoming irrelevancy?
The thing about Black Pill is where everything sucks all the
I
time.
love this. I love this. Talk about a straw man. Talk about just obfuscation and just look over there. He wants to get into Black Pill and think it's because people are just down on everything. No, this infuriates me all the more. The idea that Dan goes into Black Pill, whatever in the world that's supposed to be. Is it just cynicism, narcissism, nihilism, whatever? Who cares? Black Pill. Who came up with that? The idea that he's saying, oh, people are just complaining. It comes down to this. I know I'm skipping ahead. I know I'm skipping ahead, but this is just the way my mind works. I skip to the end sometime and then I come right back. What Dan's about to do, talking about the Black Pill and how people are complaining about everything instead of saying what a good job we're doing. I don't care about the business as usual good job anybody does. If you're actually living through a time where you actually do know that the wolves are at the door and that there are literal commies, American Marxists, pedophiles, a few murderers at the door, breaking it down. You were supposed to arrest people, Dan. You were supposed to arrest people. Lock them down, lock them up, and make it public. And you didn't do it. Keep going.
Is like, well, we're demanding accountability, but you're not great. So am I. That's something
No, you're not.
you're endlessly complaining about things you know.
Wait.
Even don't know.
Demanding accountability. You were just at the FBI.
Here we go. Look
That
at the
was your
eyes.
job.
Oh man, he that's not me pausing it. That's him pausing it. Look at Dan's eyes. Look at Dan's eyes. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Okay, go.
Again, folks, I don't know Dan Bongino personally,
Me neither.
I don't want to jump to any conclusions. But
oh yeah, this is what I meant to say a minute ago before I derailed my own self. Listen to this. It comes down to this. Dave Smith has already said this perfectly well. I'm so glad he did. And again, Dave Smith is another guy who I don't even listen to regularly. But it's epic what he said. You were either lying then or you're lying now. And really, it comes back to people like me. Was Dan Bongino and everybody like him, were they always just a fraud? Always just a dummy? Always just a grifting faker? And I just let myself be duped by them? You know what I mean? Have you thought that yourself about all these people? Because boy, has he taken me for a ride. They really, all of them have. Basically the whole Trump administration at this point. And again, look at the eyes. Look at the eyes. It's all in the eyes, Chico. It's all in the eyes.
from somebody that's just observing this, let's say, let's put it like that. From somebody who's just observing this, this is just embarrassing. It looks like a guy who now feels exposed.
Yeah.
It looks like a guy who is now concerned about his status, his relevancy. I mean, are you hearing this? Hey, I'm about accountability too. What are you talking about? You were just at the FBI. What accountability? Tell me, Mr. Bongino, what accountability did you enact after 8 years of podcasting about the deep state and the Clinton crimes and the Obama crime and the Biden crimes and the Biden administration crimes and the Obama administration crimes? What accountability did you enact at the FBI in response to all of those crimes? And now you sit down in a podcast studio and you say, I'm for accountability. You were just at the FBI. What?
You were a cop. You were a cop, a federal cop, top of the heap. The ones who were in that position before you were SWAT teaming people who didn't deserve to be SWAT teamed. And now here you are saying, well, look at how violent crime has gone down under our tenure. Who gives a care? Are you doing anything about the corrupt cops who were SWAT teaming people who didn't deserve to be SWAT teamed?
What's going to happen next? Donald Trump is going to quit. Donald Trump is going to
I love this.
say, I'm not going to be president anymore. And then once I go on a podcast, then the fight starts. Once I go on a podcast, then the accountability starts. Once I do a podcast, the deep state will be arrested. So I'm quitting I'm going to stop being the president so that then I can get accountability. What are we talking about?
What are we talking about? It's a great example. What if Trump did that? I'll have power and authority. I'll be able to do something, and the fight will really get started once I lay down all my power as president, and then I'll start a podcast. It'll be Truth Social 2.0. And really, this speaks to maybe this is an actual pathology that's developed. Maybe Dan Bongino actually believes this, that maybe it's because of the social media dopamine rush. Maybe these, almost called him a boomer, but he's not a boomer. He's not old enough to be a baby boomer. Maybe in his mind, that dopamine rush, like these women who get validation from all these clicks and views and junk, that is power to him. Whereas actually having power of being in the FBI, an institution that can take your liberty away, where they're allowed to lie to you, but you're not allowed to lie to them. Maybe he is genuinely messed up in the head. I don't know. I'm just saying, for him to actually think that, and I think Owen's going to talk about how Dinesh D'Souza's like, Dan Bongino's back in the fight. We're glad to have him back. One thing about the left, I'm not going to say one thing you got to admire because there's nothing to admire about the left. They understand you have to have power, and they're very good at getting in, seizing it, and keeping control and growing control. That's really the problem we're facing. The problem that's tearing up this country, and that people like Dan Bongino, we thought knew that and we're going to do something about it. But no, he ends up in a situation where Owen Schroyer gets to say, what are we saying? What are we saying? I'm going to leave my job at the FBI, and then I'll be able to really do a lot of good on my podcast, The Comfortable Life, where I get to just talk and don't have any responsibility. Yeah.
What are you saying? Tell me how that makes any sense.
You can't make it make sense. It's crazy. And Dan's got some crazy eyes right now.
It doesn't.
Know anything about. Like, that's all you do. Like, he'll shut down the border, 10 people across the month. Why wasn't it 0? Okay, well, can you just acknowledge?
Nobody's complaining about the border.
That's the straw man again. I don't know. Trump's, it's not even a redeeming quality, because I don't know if there is anything that can redeem Trump at this point. But the one good thing he did was secure the border. Literally nobody's complaining about him securing the border and how illegal entries are way, way down. That's the one good thing Trump's done. So
Literally
why is Dan saying this?
Nobody's complaining about the border. So
Nobody's
that's a
doing it.
straw man.
Straw man.
Going from 1 million to 10 is a big deal. That way, and there's a cost to that. And the cost you see is in, polling.
By the
numbers
way,
around-
folks, I'm telling you, you just forget about what he's saying. Look at how this is going. He's on Nightly Scroll with Haley. Who?
I don't know.
He doesn't even go back
Nobody knows.
on air with Evita Duffy, who's been his partner on the Dan Bongino show, who launched her own show through the Dan Bongino syndicate, who does a pretty good job, Evita Duffy. He doesn't even go on with Evita, who has way more clout than this. I don't even know who this is. Has anybody ever heard of this girl? Nightly Scroll with Haley. What are we doing, Dan? You're going back on this show that nobody's heard of?
Yep.
You don't even go back on with Evita Duffy? You don't even go back and debut on your own show? What are we doing? This is a failure right out of the gates.
around the midterms.
Oh my goodness. He's going to talk about the midterms and about the voting. The midterms are toast. Forget about the midterms.
Can't let this negative vibe
Don't be a negative Nelly. This you ever hear that? You ever hear somebody say they could slap somebody, or how they want to spit? That's what I'm feeling listening to Dan right now.
constantly set in.
Oh, and now they're talking about the midterms. Hey, you need to vote for us even if we do nothing.
Nope,
You need to vote for us even if we don't
not going to happen.
follow through on any of our promises. You need to vote for us no matter what. That ain't going to work.
That doesn't mean healthy debates about policy are not welcome. Hey, I'm not a big tariff guy. I've said that 1,000 times. Debating policies are fine. Debating policies are fine. I think a lot of the so-called damage from the tariffs was dramatically over-exaggerated. Even people who don't like them haven't acknowledged that now. The economy's motoring, 4% growth. But the black pill complaining and whining all the time about the administration, it's just like, man, what team are you on? Holy Moses, man. So you don't have to watch.
I'm on Team Jesus. And for him to go into, again, about the black pilling stuff and the way you look at things, he honestly, again, I'm like Owen. I don't know Dan Bongino, but for him to talk this way, it's like, does he really not get it? Does he really not understand how special, and by special, I mean how dire these particular circumstances are today? It's not every generation you have to deal with a Jeffrey Epstein level international sex ring, sex slavery, pedophile ring involving foreign intelligence agencies, monarchies, billionaires, all converging on one secret island. This is like once in a century, once in a thousand years stuff. And it's an indicator of the worst kind of societal and cultural rot that is, you can almost taste it, and it's stinking how visceral and evil it is. Unless these guys like Bongino were basically just making all this stuff up and preying upon our emotions and our most firmly held convictions about the worst sin, the worst crime imaginable, that is ruining and destroying a young child or putting a young woman in a rape situation, things like that, and murder, ruining kids, pedophilia. And for Dan to go into what? Well, they're all just complaining about where are the arrests? Where are the deep state arrests? Where are the Epstein files? Where are the deep state arrests? The Russia hoaxers, the people who lied to get FISA warrants, who falsified their own emails, Adam Schiff, James Clapper, Rod Rosenstein, John Brennan, James Comey, or Jim Comey, whatever his name is. All these guys, they're free. They're all free. If I did even a few of the things they did, I would not be free right now. This is why I'm ticked off.
It's okay. There's a door. Go find the freaking
Oh, I already found it. I've been gone.
exits, because I don't.
And we will.
I don't really give a shit. I'm not here for anybody.
And there it is right there. And there it is right there. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
There it is right there. There it is. There's Dan Bongino. Dan, I don't give a shit, Bongino. Boy, how fast that changed. Boy, how fast that changed. Dan, I don't give a shit.
Look, go back. Look at Dan's body language. Look at that. Look at the way he's looking. That is exasperation. That is the look of frustration and defeat. The Nightly with Haley woman, the podcaster over there, she's just continuing to smile and do the like blonde news anchor deal. But there's Dan like having a moment. Like he is really out of it. That is some white flag stuff right there. He's done. His goose is cooked.
Dan, I don't give a shit, Bongino. Folks, I was a regular Dan Bongino audience member.
So was I.
I wouldn't miss an episode of the Dan Bongino podcast. I'll probably tune in out of curiosity for the first episode or two, but if this is it, if this is how it's going to go, what is this thing about the black pillars? Oh,
it's going to be nothing but morbid curiosity from people like me and anybody who would listen to a Dan Bongino show. And I'm not actually going to listen to the show. Like I said, he is going to be mainstream news now. Every time I hear his voice, it's going to be like, oh, here's the guy who I know misleads me. It's just pure morbid curiosity that you would ever listen to somebody who the first thing you think to yourself when you hear them is, oh, here's that person who misleads me and who deceives me and who lets me down, and then makes like it's no big deal. And then listen to what they have to say. Yeah, right.
Attacking the administration. I'd love to hear Dan get substantive about this. I'd love to hear Dan actually deliver something of substance here. What are we talking about, Dan? Are we talking about the Epstein list? Are we talking about deep state arrests? What are we talking about?
None of those.
Are we talking about the economy? You guys, the administration can't even make up its mind on the economy. One day it's the greatest economy ever. The next day Trump is trying to fix the economy. What is it?
That is another good point, because that's what you see every day in the news, in the headlines, in the way they present things. Everything's great. And in the next breath, even Trump said it in that text to Peter Schiff when he accused Schiff of being a loser and a jerk and a Trump hater and painting him with this broad brush. He put it in these big bold letters, Trump did. I'm fixing it. Talking about inflation, talking about the economy. I'm fixing it. Well, it's either going great right now or I'm fixing it. You can't be both.
We're not black pillars. We're just not brainwashed.
Amen.
We're not black pillars.
Thank you.
We just
Thank you, Owen.
demand results. And when we don't get them, we call you out. And now the tough guy
Yep.
routine,
Pretty simple.
after you leave the FBI,
That is another thing that it's I know cringe is a word that's used too much, but that's pure cringe. The tough guy thing, that wherever he's from, the Bronx or wherever Dan Bongino is from in that part of New York. I know he's not from there. He's from locale. It's like it's grating on the nerves, on your mind. It's like, dude, are you really putting on this persona? Really? In the way you're talking to people?
the tough guy routine, attacking your audience.
Rules, commands, MCP servers, subagents, modes, hooks, tools.
Get out of here. Oh, and that was the end of that one. But it seems like there was another one by Owen that was even better than that one. I don't know what it was. What the title of it was. But we'll just move on to the one where Dave Smith is getting into it with him. And I think I can actually watch Liberty Vaults. I've started listening to him a lot lately. Video where he gets into commentating on
So
that.
that's weird. But he says the liberal media children.
Oh, yeah. Here's where we really get into the stupid tough guy talking down to people.
We do have a couple Bongino things from over the weekend. It's all hilarious. So it's all hilarious. We're going to review some of his recent comments, and then I'm going to show you because he's supposed to return in about 20 days. I guess less than that now. Yeah, I guess it's like 15 or so days now. He's supposed to make his big return. So it's the big buildup. It's the big buildup, but there's nothing really being built. It's like a lot of moving parts shuffling around. It's kind of like when you have construction. Everybody sees this.
Oh, it's so
you have
annoying.
construction on your highway,
Yeah.
and nobody's ever building anything. That's
Yeah.
just a bunch of cones and trucks and people, whatever, and nothing gets built. That's kind of what's happening right now with the Bongino return. But some weirdness over the weekend. So first he makes this statement. And I'm sitting here reading this from Bongino. And again, I was a Bongino listener. I was a big Bongino fan. I don't come from a place of anti-Dan Bongino. We just call it as it is here, folks. So some weirdness this weekend from Bongino. He posts this. Of course, this is all after his departure from the FBI. He posts this over the weekend. He says, "Dear liberal media children, yes, daddy's home now." Okay. Daddy's home now. It's a little strange, but he says, "I know that terrifies you as you claw at your own faces and pile up your feckless attack pieces in anticipation of my show launch." I can assure you there is zero anticipation on the left of his show launch, and there's barely any anticipation on the right for his show launch.
Not good. Not good.
And that's not just me saying that. We'll show you the evidence. But, okay, so he's daddy, and he thinks the liberals are anticipating his show and freaking out. Endlessly emailing me for comments about your personal hit pieces. Says it's all a waste of time. He has less than zero interest in contributing to their fairy tales. He says, "I'll save us both time. I'll issue a universal response to your inquiries in my kindness and most courteous Queens, New York voice.
Queens.
And
That's
I'll
where
ask
he's
you to
from.
respectfully go F yourselves and save the energy it takes you to thumb out an email to me. Thanks and have an amazing weekend.
Talk about passive aggressive. Thanks and have an amazing weekend is how he ended this thing.
Okay, so Bond, this is more crashing out to me. He says, "F yourselves, Daddy's home." What is going on? But again, let's measure all of this. Okay, let's just put aside the crash out, the anticipation, the
You know what?
liberals, whatever.
It's just too much. I don't think
And-
I even want to go over his entire social media posting there. I think I'll move on to the Liberty Vault one here in just a minute. And
in some way, shape, or form, he has hurt his reputation.
yep,
They're breathing a sigh of relief because you're no longer at the FBI.
that's another thing. This weird unlogic or anti-logic that Dan expresses when he talks about the power shift, how he has power now and he's going to be able to do more good now than he could have in the FBI. It's really, it's so bizarre that anybody would say that. It's crazy to me. And you can't help but think it. Owen just said it. The liberals, they're glad you're away from the FBI now, Dan, where you don't have arresting power. Now you can just be on YouTube and podcasting with all the other malcontents. They're happy that you're not a federal cop anymore.
So that's weird.
Yep.
But he says the liberal media children. So Dinesh D'Souza, Dinesh.
There we go. Dinesh, another one who's just totally gone. I used to like him a lot. Now, not at all.
Got Dan's back. He says, Dan comes out swinging, and it's good to have him back in the fight.
Back in the fight. He's got to say it the same way, as though the media fight is an actual fight. This is going to blow up in, I'll just say, the right's face horribly, because this business of thinking you're doing more good in podcasting and in the realm of news media is some schizoid behavior. It really is. What's going on in Minneapolis right now is it's not heaven sent. It's hell sent. People are capturing on their phones the images of the ICE agents who, justified or not, I don't have enough emotional strength or mental fortitude right now to even try and have a debate with anybody about that, about whether things were justified or not as far as these shootings of the one woman, Renee, or the guy who he had his gun, they got it away from him. The video people are captured on their phone, and the news, leftist and otherwise, are shows ICE agents holding a guy down on the ground until you hear a gunshot pop, 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 and then the guy's laying lifeless on the ground. This is a nightmare. It doesn't matter how much you stand atop that hill like Buckley or whatever and say, no, those images of things that are actually happening in Minneapolis carry so much more weight with people emotionally, viscerally, who can be influenced by things of imagery and people getting capped in the street than any intellectual or dialectical argument that somebody on the quote-unquote conservative or quote-unquote right wing can make. And especially at a time when people are just giving up on the quote-unquote right wing, quote-unquote conservatism. Back in the fight. Dinesh had to say that. Back in the fight. I think you're retarded.
Back in the fight? He just left the FBI.
He just left the cops.
Guys, what is going on here? I'd love to just summarize this as the boomer crash out, but I don't think it's that simple.
Maybe it is that simple, though. I'm just saying. Maybe it is. Because it's like it's psychological.
that might be kind of the general overtone of all of this is the boomer crash out, because they've been so used to imposing their will over the right, imposing their will over us, imposing their will over the media. But now that the younger generations have come of age, now that social media and the internet is starting to take precedent over television media, this is kind of just the overall boomer crash out. They can't impose their will. They can't dictate the narrative. They can't control how younger right-wingers think anymore, and they're losing the institutional power to keep their control of the narrative. But okay, so this is the logic being proposed by Bongino and by Dinesh D'Souza. This is like if Trump left the White House and they all said, "Oh wow, Trump can really fight him now." Huh? That's what this would be like. This would be like if Donald Trump said, "All right,
Yeah, you use that example.
I'm leaving the White." A very similar analysis where Bongino went on that show that nobody's heard of. How many people have heard of the Haley Talks, or what was it called? Haley something?
Nightly with Haley.
I guess she's in the influence brigade to promote this video he shoots. Video.
Oh, wait, did
nobody
it show the video?
talks on with Haley, talks with Haley, or went on that show that I'm leaving the White Influence brigade.
Oh yeah. He's gonna play it. He's gonna play it.
Have you seen this? This is Bongino's new hype video.
Goodness. Hype video, yeah.
Can't wait to get back on the air. February 2nd, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The return of the Dan Bongino Show. Lovers, haters, friends, supporters, detractors, you're all welcome. Make that chat room fire. I want to hear it all. Rumble.com/Bongino, February 2nd, 10 a.m. live.
Riverside helps with the entire process of making a podcast, from recording to edit and even
See you there.
No, you won't.
And actually, I take it back.
You won't see me there.
It's not his home studio. This, I think, is still the Haley Scroll studio.
By the way, a week or so ago when these videos were first going up and it was first coming to my attention that Dan was coming back, I looked up Producer Joe because I know when Dan went to the FBI and there was no more podcasts, I thought about Armacause. Whatever happened to Producer Joe? He was always someone who made that show fun. He's passed away. Producer Joe has passed away, so rest in peace, Producer Joe.
Might even be the same shirt he was wearing for that interview. So did he just can this a couple weeks ago? So they have the whole Trump digital influence team pushing this video over the weekend. Dan Bongino, I'm so excited to be back. Hey, look, I get it, Dan. I'm sure that this life of hosting your talk show is way more comfortable, way more fun.
Way more fun.
I'm with you there. Okay. So I get that. But let's stop pretending that this is something that it isn't. You left the FBI. You did not meet expectations. You wildly failed at the expectations. The entire basis of your podcast was standing up to the deep state.
All of it. That's what his podcast was. That's what it was built on.
Calling out deep state corruption. You got into a position to actually do something about it. You didn't.
Something that nobody else will ever be given, most likely, a chance.
And now you're building up this hype, or attempting to build up this hype, that you're going to go back on your popular show and do what? Do you think people are going to tune in every day to listen to you lick Trump's boots?
Ugh.
Clean Trump's butt?
Yeah.
I don't understand what this is. Okay, but aside from that, folks, there's no hype. There's no hype. I'm sorry, there is just no hype for this at all. And even for Bongino shooting this hype video, it barely has a pulse, because he knows it. He can't hide from reality. And he would have been better off just coming out and saying, look, I got in there. It was extremely difficult. It was a lot more difficult than I had anticipated.
And this still wouldn't have been good enough, but at least he would have been more honest in a way.
The swamp is deeper than I had thought. And quite frankly, I had made so many sacrifices in my personal life and my family life, and I wasn't getting the results that were desired. And so I've just decided I want to go back to my show, back to my family, and kind of put the DC swamp life behind me. I wish I could have done more, but it is what it is, and I hope you'll accept me when I go back on air. You know, it would have been if you could have done something humble like that and maybe explain a little bit of why he made the decision. But no, he somehow declares victory. Like,
that is what makes people insane. That's what drives me crazy. The idea that, oh, there's nothing to see here. Epstein killed himself. And the idea that he could possibly go back to podcasting after no deep state arrest. It it is insane to me. It defies all logic and reality as I understood it up to this point, that anybody could do that and get away with it. It's like, no, nobody's going to accept you. Even if he would try and do some humble thing, which he didn't, and he's not, nobody wants to hear from you.
he's a mission accomplished, and now I'm back and more powerful than ever. But everybody knows it's not true, including himself.
This is the thing. This is the thing. This isn't just about corruption. There's always some level of corruption because flawed human beings, the scum rises to the top. Bad people get into office because they're seeking power. They're power seekers, literally. That's what they are. They're power seekers. This wasn't just about the deep state or corruption. Dan said, don't let that Epstein story go, verbatim. And then he does this thing with the crazy eyes, the hostage video that we all saw. He killed himself. Look, I've seen the file. I've seen the whole file. He killed himself. It's not acceptable. Even if it were true, and I'm not saying it is, I don't believe that. I do not believe that. I don't believe the man killed himself. I don't believe Dan Bongino was part of some muckety-muck riling people up, and a whole bunch of freakazoids used this horrible story about Epstein Island, young girls and young boys too. I forget what they called the young boys being raped and all this stuff. A pedophile ring involving billionaires, celebrities, sports athletes, royalty from who knows where. That didn't happen. No, I believe that did happen. I don't think they were making it up beforehand. I think that they're making up. I think it's like what Dave Smith said. You're either lying then or you're lying now. I believe he's lying now. The idea that he would dare try to come back into podcasting and have a news show, that's like, you are unreal. You are unreal. You're not a real person. You're like a living cartoon character.
Including himself. So, again, just to clarify, in case you're wondering, I've been a Bongino fan. I've listened to his shows for over the years. It was a staple in my media consumption for years. And he did do a great show, and he did write some great books. Or whoever wrote them with his name. I don't know. That's how things go in this industry. I just don't see how he returns, especially after the way he's tried to rebuild himself upon the return. I just don't see it.
Me neither.
I just don't see it. And I think that he has underestimated all the things that have happened in the last 12 months as far as the media is concerned. And I could imagine if you're at the FBI, there's probably a veil between you and the media now. There's probably a great distance that Dan is not typically used to between himself and the media world and the average American that likes to consume political media. And he was away for, 10, 12 months, whatever it is. And he doesn't realize how much the landscape has shifted. He doesn't realize how much things have changed. He doesn't even realize that the sentiments of his own audience are probably way different than they were, say, just 8 months ago. So he might, in his mind, really think that everything is exactly how he left it. And that the playing
It ain't just as you left it, Dan.
field and the arena is the same layout that when he left it, and it's totally different now. And I'll say this, and I've been saying this for over a year. If you've been listening to my shows for over a year, I've been saying this. I said it right after the presidential election, in fact. Every election cycle, people in the media rise and fall.
And this is a good point that Owen makes about how media people, basically, they they rise and fall based upon the news cycles of whatever's going on at that particular time. For instance, Dan Bongino, he went into the stratosphere with the most successful podcast on Rumble talking about deep state corruption, blah, blah, blah. Let's keep going Let's keep going.
For the things he's been talking about for years in the book.
Love can be draining when
I
it
don't
feels.
know if he has anything else to say that we haven't already covered so far. I think I want to go ahead and get into the Liberty Vault video where he's talking about the Dave Smith, Dan Bongino crash out online back and forth spaz contest they've had.
When he left his show and went to the FBI, I think it was tough for him to handle some things. I think he's got enough money that it probably doesn't matter. But, you know, money does come into the play. Money's always a factor.
Owen actually reminds me of Alex Jones here, the way he talks about
Young
every
school and still living at home.
Talks about this stuff from every angle, almost like a Rush Limbaugh, exploring it psychologically and what is this person thinking. I appreciate that, but this is a very unique case in as much as it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The audience is gone. The audience that you had. Well, here's the one caveat. Here's the one caveat for Dan's return to podcasting. It'll be a completely different set of people. Hey, there's a thought. There's an idea. It'll be just a completely different set of people. There might be about a 5% group from the old crew from his pre-FBI days that won't ever forget and maybe won't ever stop trolling him. And he'll be saying, I don't give a SHIT, get the F out of here. And he'll be banning people. But the other 95% of the people, maybe they will be like old Fox News baby boomers, conservatives. He might be able to just go back and enjoy being a podcaster, preaching to the willfully ignorant who are willing to just let it go and who will just find it in themselves to just nod and say, yeah, Epstein killed himself. Wow, man, that really was something.
That he's not seeing. So I think all of this really affected him. And, you know, maybe he didn't.
Again, I appreciate what Owen's doing here, talking about is money an issue and the way that Dan talked about divorce, but not really divorce. He wanted to bring his wife with him or some such thing. The things that I know, a man is only human. Dan Bongino is only human. Again, I keep going back to the very unique times in which we live when we need warriors. We don't need Dan Bongino who's going to complain about how he misses his life and he wishes he could have more time with his wife and blah, 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 his family. Or Kash Patel and his country music sensation girlfriend, how he has been caught going to clubs and whatnot. It's like, it's not time for that. If this stuff is true that I've been hearing in the news and seeing in the news, it's not time for that. It's time to build a special prison to put traitors inside of it before you lose what's left of your country. That's what time it is. It's not time to date and mate and marry and have 100 kids. It's not time to complain about anything. It's time to go to war against people who want people like you to cease to exist. That's what time it is. But Lord love them. These guys, bless their heart, they don't know what time it is.
Handle it well behind the scenes. Maybe he did. I don't know. But now that he's like, okay, I'm trying to go back to my life. I got to go back to my life. Things just didn't work out here. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not getting done what I need to get done. So I'm just going to try to go back to my life.
It's just not fun anymore.
And I would say that if that life is not there for him, the way he thinks it is, or the way he wants it to be, I could see a major crash out.
Yep. That's a pretty good prediction to make. If things don't pan out over the next couple of months. And the thing is, the trolls, I'm not going to be one of them because for my mental health, I've got to just press on and go in a different direction. I'm not going to be one who trolls Dan Bongino. I just don't do that. I don't leave comments and all this junk. I'm just gonna mark. It'll just be one thing marked off the list for me. But there will be people in the digital age of the internet and the comment section, in the age of the comment section, who will never leave Dan alone, ever. And it's not going to be like it was before. So, in a way, part of me wants to feel kind of bad for him, but at the same time, no. Because if you're going to accept a position of power and be a man of power, then you've got to be fit for it, or else you shouldn't have accepted it to begin with. And I'm talking about his going into the FBI and doing what he did, or should I say not doing what he should have done.
I could see a major crash out.
And again, if it is the case, and I do mean worst case scenario, worst possible case scenario, that you could see it in his eyes and his walking down the hall with his bug eyes and his shocked face months and months ago when this happened, that maybe Dan Bongino, Kash Patel in that interview, and so many people in the government are actually being held hostage by a group of killers, whoever they are. Deep, extra deep state, black money stuff that have the quote unquote goods on everybody, and are saying, if you don't go out there tomorrow and say such and such and start getting the people to just let this go, you're going to die. Okay. Then I would understand Dan's plight. As it is, no. It just ain't happening.
If that is the case. Now, I'm not rooting for that at all. I would say if I could advise Dan Bongino, and this comes from a genuine place, I would say, Dan, you're gonna have, if you want this to work out, and I could easily say, well, he's my competition, so I want him to fail. I don't look at it like that. No, I'll give Bongino free advice right now. I'd say, Dan, if you want this to work out, when you go live on February 2nd, you have to explain to your audience. You have to explain to your audience.
This is the thing. And this actually will give him a chance to have kind of an out. I haven't really thought about this because in my mind, my whole deal has been, this is over. Put a fork in him. He's done. But if when he does come back, he does try to explain something, his situation will change somewhat. Still ain't going to have an audience for me, that's for sure. But if he does say something when he gets back on his podcast and starts broadcasting 1 or 2, 3 days, we'll just have to see what happens. I won't be there. I'm going to find out after the fact because I'm done with it. But it is interesting to think about because Owen is absolutely right on this point. He must explain. He can't not explain these things.
Why we're not
about why we didn't get any arrests out of the Epstein related stuff, most particularly, not just the deep state, but the Epstein stuff, especially
not getting deep state arrests. You have to, and you might be able to hide behind an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, or, you can't say things, whatever. You can hide behind that just a little, but you can't hide behind it fully.
Exactly, because he can say legality all he wants. Oh, I'm not allowed to talk about this. But the thing is, at that point, Dan is still going to be kneecapped of his own self because he's no better than if he were still in the FBI or maybe an elected politician who is privy to certain classified information on some committee or some such thing. Well, you're my news guy. What can you tell me? Because when you say, oh, well, I'm not allowed to talk about that, you're not a newsman anymore. You're with the government. literally, because you're in the same information bracket, the same lack of transparency. You're no different.
It will not be acceptable. It will not be acceptable. And I'll just say this, and maybe this is the move he makes, but it'll be different for him on his show. The contacts that I have that are, let's say, close to the head of the FBI, I'll leave it at that. They just say to me when I complain that, oh, the swamp is too deep. The swamp is swampier than we thought. The swamp is such a mess. We're trying, is basically what I get. So he might be able to.
Again, you can get away with that only to a degree because people would kind of understand that. But again, it goes back to Dan being this bulldog, this cop of cops. He was supposed to be our man who was going to get something done. It was like a dream come true for Trump to tap him to be top level FBI. Kash Patel to an extent, but really Dan Bongino for a number of factors. Because he just checks so many boxes between already being a Secret Service agent, a police officer, all these things, podcaster, he's in the know about things. It's like a dream come true. And then he ends up being the water carrier.
Roll with that. But that's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it.
Nope.
When he goes on air and his audience wants answers. I would suggest, if I was Dan Bongino, I would just become an FBI whistleblower.
There you go.
That's what I would do. I'd become an FBI whistleblower.
Then they'd really threaten to kill him.
And I'd say, all right, you know what? And declare your whistleblower protections. Maybe try to rekindle your relationship with Kyle Seraphin and Garrett O'Boyle, Steve Friend, the rest of the FBI whistleblowers. Maybe try to rekindle that. Maybe call their lawyers that you helped them fund. And maybe become an FBI whistleblower and say, here's why we can't get anything done. Because I know there's stuff there, Dan.
Yep, I know there's stuff there, Dan. You know how I know there's stuff there, Dan? Because you told me there's stuff there, Dan. In this book. And in this book. See? It's you on the back, Dan. And in this book. So, we know there's something there, Dan. Question is, what is it?
Anything less, I just don't know. I don't know how it works out. I don't know how he makes it. Again, I don't think money matters. I think he's got plenty of that. But I would just say he seems to have the personality and the psychological makeup where if things are not comfortable and he gets more criticism,
yeah,
when he comes back, I could see a major crash out.
Yeah, me too.
I could see a major crash out when he returns to his show.
Unlike other value.
Yep. I can also see that coming. Maybe it won't happen. It's going to be an interesting show whenever he comes back. We'll all be looking forward to it eagerly, I'm sure. But now let's get into the one that's even more entertaining. Liberty Vault is somebody who I started listening to really about the same time as I saw that Owen video a week or so ago. Let's listen to him commentate. So this is going to be me commentating on him commentating on the Dave Smith, Dan Bongino crash out and their social media feud. Pardon the language, folks. We'll get through it.
You buried a story about a pedophile.
Yep.
He actively covered up the Epstein case. So he didn't fail. He exposed himself as the deep state.
That's I can't argue against that, because that's the conclusion you have to come to go inside and then come back out. And now you're saying all the stuff that the people on the inside are saying. That means you're the deep state now.
Your legacy is protecting pedophiles.
Oof.
Dan Bongino's having an epic crash out on Twitter. The former FBI director, he's been talking trash to just about anyone that dares to question why he lied about the Epstein scandal, why he lied about the Epstein files, and basically blocking thousands of people on Twitter. And one of the people he has lashed out at is Dave Smith, who's managed to beat back at him and ratio him 3 consecutive times.
Wow.
So let's see Dave discuss this, the corruption at the root of this, why Dan Bongino sides with the regime, and above all, the fact that Dan Bongino's credibility didn't kill itself. So let's take a look at this. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Dan Bongino, the FBI deputy director 5 minutes ago, now, turned podcaster again, he crashed the fuck out on me. I don't know how else to describe it. And anyway, it's very interesting. So I want to kind of go through this whole thing. Well, let's read through this a little bit. So this is how he responds. By the way, literally all I said, and I'm calling him a liar. He is a liar, but like I said, yeah, nice story. Why'd you lie about Epstein? Like I'm just doing what
that. There's something about that's like acid on the brain. These little, because this has to do with the social media age, the digital age. Yeah. Good story. Now, why did you cover up for Epstein? That is something that it doesn't have to go away. And it's so easy for people to say that to Dan now. It's insane. I'm not going to mention his name, but there's a YouTuber out there who has some allegations in his past because of like a court filing or something relating to a domestic disturbance. And people who don't like this particular YouTuber or content creator now say, oh, I don't know, so-and-so. I'm not going to say his name. Don't want to give him bad. Again, they're allegations, and I don't know fully all this stuff. It's just so easy for people to say, oh, yeah, I don't know, man. Why did you beat your wife? It's like, and people can just say that ad infinitum, and it will just ruin people, whether it's true or not. That it's kind of like over there in Iran right now. They gave all those drones to the Houthis, and the $1 billion U.S. Navy went limping away after a few weeks. They couldn't hang because of these little jabs that managed to get through. The missiles and the drones were too much. And so eventually the Navy just went away. It's that kind of guerrilla warfare, these little pinpricks of, I don't know, Dan, good story. Now, why did you cover for a pedophile? It's the worst thing in the world. And really, you know what? I can't feel sorry for Dan at all, because in the course of things, he did it to himself. He did it to himself.
What he told me to do, which is never let up.
Never let up on that Epstein
That's what he
story.
told me.
Because you're not blackpilled. And
Yeah.
you're still optimistic.
You're not
That's right.
black-pilled.
They're
You got a
We're
smile
gonna
on
get
your face.
justice for the victims and expose the deep state.
There you go. Okay, so
Expose. The conservative obsession with exposing has got to end. We had a man who was supposed to arrest these freaks, and it still didn't happen.
so I said, yeah, nice story. Whatever. Why'd you lie about Epstein? This was his first response.
Why'd you lie about
Which
it?
is just, listen, I'm sorry, guys, but it's like, I know I repeat this a lot, but it's goddamn surreal being me. This is the deputy director of the FBI 5 minutes ago. Hilarious that you.
That's what's crazy about this. It's like, maybe I don't know if it's because of social media or what, or how people are just afraid of how they're going to be taken, or optics, or how things are going to be seen. it's destroyed all professionalism. People have forgotten themselves. He was the deputy director, and this is how he's going to talk to somebody in a post that literally 7 or 8 billion people can see.
Not only missed the news cycle for the last year, pretty sure we caught it, but that you also knew you were the moron referenced in the post.
Oh my God.
Watching you advertise your dipshittery on a series of debates over the past year was...
If you didn't know Dan said that, you would know Dan said it after that wording.
...my guilty pleasure while I was working. No, now go back to your mama's spare room and write me some jokes and get your shine box too. My shoes got a scuff last night while lighting up the live stream while you clowns were rage posting. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, that's what his guilty pleasure was, watching Dave cream his opponents, especially on Israel, the cause that Dan Bongino has said is the most passionate in his heart. You can find the clip on that out there. But it's particularly...
Oh yeah, Dan, at that, I remember, I don't remember what video it was or where he was when he said it. It's a clip. He just straight up says, yeah, I'm a Zionist.
Comical when it was Dan Bongino that ran off to Fox and Friends and whined about the long hours he had to spend working in the FBI, supposedly divorced from his wife. And what he meant by that is not actually divorced from his wife, meaning he couldn't bring in his wife to work with him for some reason, like just about
like everybody else in the world,
every single other American on earth, whining about this as he took an active role in covering up Epstein. This is how he responded to Dave Smith. Insane.
Now, dude, just every inch of this is like just the weirdest cringe, down to saying Dan at the end of it. Like, it's your tweet, dude. You don't need to sign your name to it. And the shine box reference that the Goodfellas
like a letter
reference that he goes to again in his next tweet. I mean, a lot of people pointed this out, but it's pretty funny. It's like, did you stop the movie at that line?
Yeah, that guy gets murdered horribly.
Have you not?
And that's who you just made like you were in this context.
Made it through the rest of it? Because this is a weird character to decide to be. It's like the guy ends up getting stabbed to death in a trunk. So like, okay.
Yeah, the shine box thing. I mean, Goodfellas is an American classic. It's a great movie, but it also came out, what, 1990, I think? That's like a 35-year-old movie you're making a reference to twice, and it's already coming across as a boomer crash out when you're not actually tackling any of the arguments Dave's making about why'd you lie about Epstein. And here's the spoiler. Dan Bongino isn't going to talk about Epstein anymore. He'll talk about everything under the sun other than Epstein. He's going to get into forestry regulatory policies and intellectual property instead of talking about that. Why? Because he's tarnished every ounce of his reputation by covering up for pedophiles. That's why. That's why this is his strategy. It's not to actually, actually have arguments.
But again, I mean, it's just so pathetic, dude. Like, what type of response is this? And first of all, what a weird admission that he was watching my debates and all of this. It's like, okay.
He had time for that with his 9-to-5 job over at the FBI.
Yeah, he complained about all the hours he's putting in, and he still had time to watch a comedian.
But dude, didn't you have to be at work at like 8 a.m?
Yeah,
and you couldn't bring your wife with you, and you still had time to watch my debates. And so, okay, so I so then obviously I got to keep responding to this now because it's Dan Bongino. So then okay, sorry. So let me find this here. So then I posted challenging him to a debate. He of course didn't respond to that. And then
of course.
Well, I guess
those are the two things he'll never respond to. Whether he'll debate Dave Smith, he's not going to touch that one, and Epstein. Not going to talk about those. Probably not talk about holding Comey or Fauci or anyone else accountable too. You had the whole thing about, Biden signed these pardons with an auto pen. Oh, wow. Oh, but are we going to do anything about that? Are we going to try to raise a legal argument to indict Fauci for crimes, or Comey or Brennan or Clapper or Obama? No, you're not going to try to do any of that. Why? Because you're co-opted by the deep state. You are the deep state. Kash Patel's the deep state. Pam Bondi's the deep state. Donald Trump's the deep state. These commands come from the innards of the deep state.
The next one, I guess that was the last one yesterday, right? And then today, I woke up this morning and I went on Twitter. I mean, I think I woke up at like 7 a.m. this morning. I went and got coffee and called home, talked to the family and stuff. And then I like opened Twitter like around 8 a.m. And he posted this. Dan Bongino said, "Your family and kids must be ecstatic that their name is Smith so they can blend in with."
It's flat out immature. And the second you go and invoke this man is middle-aged and he's worked at the FBI, and this is how he's talking. He's going to invoke this guy's kids and his family name. Really?
The millions of other Smiths out there and pretend they don't know you. Imagine being dumb enough to post what you just did publicly and then pretend it isn't copium. You're scared. I can smell you from here. Now go get your shine box like I told you.
It is just too much. It's just too much.
Box is back, and this is just so pathetic at its projection at the deepest levels. It's not Dave Smith that has to worry about what his family is going to think about, given his stance on this, that you're covering up for Epstein's scandals. You're siding with the pedophiles. You're not being transparent or clear. And beyond that, you're lying to the American public. But what about you, Dan Bongino? You have a family, right? I think he has children. You're going to have children that grow up that knew that your father was the deputy FBI director involved.
Imagine that. Imagine being those kids.
In covering up the Epstein crimes, siding with the pedophiles, not being transparent about Epstein's connections with Israel, which are ironclad, as we know from the great journalism at Drop Site News by Ryan Grimm and Murtaza Hussein. The fact that the FBI lied about the fact that sex trafficking was involved, even FBI agents, one from New York, in these leaked emails talk about that and explore the possibility of as many as 10 co-conspirators that they are actually trying to track down to subpoena for the grand jury testimony. Well, when Epstein killed himself, that investigation seemed to end.
Kind of a coincidence there.
And guess who, continued with the lie that there was nothing there? Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I think it's Dan Bongino that has to worry more about what his children will think about him than Dave Smith.
So, I responded, "Holy fucking crash out. Are you seriously posting about my children at 7 a.m.?" I said, who got ordered to go lie to the public and said, "Yes, sir. Scared? Come see me, bitch. I'll end your career and you know it. Run
The video seemed to skip out there, but we're back, I guess.
away, little girl." So okay, I'm talking shit, but he started talking shit. I'm talking shit back to him. I'm fucking intimidated by Dan Bongino. And then he tweeted this, which I got to say, this is the one that a lot of people
he went worse than kids.
No. This is what he said. He goes, "Tell your family to blink twice if they need my help. I'll get right over there." Which is like fucking weird.
It's so strange. It's so strange. It's almost like Dan. It's like he totally forgot himself. It's like he's not even himself. Maybe he's got like an alter ego or another personality, and that person is the one who actually texted that to Dave Smith.
Third thing to say. Now, listen,
weird
for everybody out there. A lot of people on the internet were saying this is a threat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it sounds like a threat from a guy who has arresting power. He's with the FBI, the high institution. I don't read about him in the Constitution, but everybody has to do what they say, right?
This is an FBI guy, and he's intentionally invoking your family and then saying, "I'll be right there."
I'll be right there.
It's a thinly veiled threat. But guys, calm down. Dan Bongino is saying that if my kids are in trouble, he'll stand up for children. And we all know when he says that, he's lying.
He's lying. He
won't follow through on it.
He's not going to follow through on that if it involves standing up for kids who are abused.
You guys worry. My kids are just fine. Dan Bongino ain't doing shit.
Yeah, especially when it comes for standing up for kids. Did Dan Bongino stand up for kids that were exploited and molested by Epstein? No. He took the orders from above to cover this up, from Pam Bondi or Trump or whoever gave that order. And he lied like a good little bitch to the deep state. That's what he did. He didn't expose their crimes. He didn't put it out in the public. He wasn't transparent. Instead, he played a role in that 11-month cover-up, which still continues because they're redacting the hell out of the documents and we'll never get the full truth. But thanks to the heroics from people like MTG and Thomas Massey, it forced Trump's hand to release some of them. And what has come out has confirmed everything we always suspected about all this. It was a cover-up. You lied about it. Bongino lied. Kash Patel lied.
So everybody can relax. Now, look, again, like I said, he's getting fucking ratioed on this. He is like the reaction. It just could not.
It's all public. It's like a public argument. It's insane that he would speak like this where everybody can see it. And this, to his credit, Dan Bongino is a guy who said something that I actually remember because of it's so poignant and good to remember. It's true. He said in one of his podcasts one day, this was back in the producer Joe days, back in the golden years, 4 or 5 years ago, he said something about arguing with liberals or leftists. And he said, in particular, I think he said it in the context of with other people. It's like you're making the case, you're standing your ground, you're presenting whatever conservative point or point of truth, point of order, point of whatever, some common sense position to take, whatever you might be talking about. And he says, you're doing this not to try and one up this person. He said, you're doing this to try and benefit the third party, the people who are looking on and would learn from you or the other person, and that you would persuade, like the gentle persuader, you would persuade the undecided or the audience member or the person who would be privy to whatever argument or discussion or debate is going on to come to your side or the conservative side or the right side or the whatever side. But that it's not about battling this person. It's about winning people over to your way of saying it. And I just remember him saying that. It's about what the third person, the other person who might be listening to your argument or your debate, you're doing it for their benefit. And that just makes Dan seem all the more schizo now, that he would be saying the things that he's saying, so immature, so dumb in front of the whole world to read and see how nuts he's become.
Not have gone worse.
Unstable.
For him, but what can you say about all of this, dude? It's like, think about the levels of projection here. Think about first of all, you see how fucking like insecure he is. He can't take a little bit of being called out before he has to snap into being as vicious as.
It doesn't speak well to his whole image, his optics, to be a man who literally looks like a bulldog. I mean, look at me. I accepted the fact in my early 20s that I'm a kid-faced man. Nobody really wants to take me seriously, and I just have to kind of accept that. Dan Bongino there, he looks like a bulldog, like a tough guy. And for him to come off as such a thin-skinned person, it's just ruining him. He's ruining his whole reputation, his whole career.
Possible.
His whole image.
The thing is, like, I got a thick skin for viciousness, and I'm better at being vicious than Dan Bongino is. So, like, come on, keep going, dude. It's just so easy to, like, play it back. Like, dude, really, Dad? Like, I'm the bitch. I blink twice if you need help. Who are we talking about here, Dan? We all watched your hostage video when you said Epstein killed himself. You're the one who fucking, like, literally got told like a boy to go out and lie and then fucking did it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And to be frank, it's Dan Bongino that appears to be the one that needs to blink twice. I mean, just take a look at this and what he said when asked about the case file and whether Epstein really killed himself, because so many people questioned that. And by the way, Dan
pouring sweat.
Bongino was one of those guys that not only questioned that, he said he didn't kill himself and to keep up, don't let up on the Epstein thing. Well, here's what he said in an interview where it seems like he's the one that's blinking twice.
He killed himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work. You said Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. I know it's hard work, but he killed himself. We all know he killed himself, right? Right, Dan. You blinked twice.
Because you're that much of a bitch. With this talk of protecting children, your legacy is protecting pedophiles.
This is the thing. And as I think about it now, he can't not explain something, some way, even if it's insanely cartoonish whenever, if he doesn't do backflips and just turns himself inside out a knot when he comes back, it's just not going to go anywhere because of how historic this is. And Dave Smith is one who's helping make it stick. He's like, your legacy. This is your legacy. The guy who was FBI deputy director for 10 months and covered up for a child molester.
You're just not in any position to fucking police this
You're not
space.
in any position
Sorry,
to
dude.
do anything.
It's
Oh,
not gonna
yeah.
happen.
The idea that he's going to come and tell other newsmen, other podcasters, other people what's what. They're just going to tell Dan to take a hike.
This is what, day one of Dan Bongino out of the FBI. So this is going to ramp up. This is just round one, baby.
There's something about the age we live in, man, where people are getting exposed. When people were always full of shit and then people didn't see through it, thought they were the real deal, and then they find out that, oh no, you were full of shit the whole time. There are so many people like this. So many people who were like respected figures just a few years ago who have like their credibility has gone to zero. And Dan Bongino might be the best example out of all of them.
You think he tops Fauci?
No. Fair point. No, he doesn't top Fauci. Probably nobody tops Fauci.
So you're saying as he reemerges into the conservative marketplace for news and he backed the regime on not investigating Epstein, he might get treated like a Fauci figure where people are dismissive and
honestly, even as I say it, it's up there. It's almost as bad as Fauci, because like the thing is that it's not that Dan Bongino sat there and then and said, we're going to get to the bottom of Russiagate. We're going to get to the bottom of Epstein. We're going to get to the bottom of election fraud. We're going to get to the bottom of all this stuff, and then didn't do anything. Like, that would be one thing. That would be like you failed. But that's not what he did. He actively covered up the Epstein case. So he didn't fail. He exposed himself as the deep state.
This is so interesting to me because the whole point of how irate and how filled with righteous indignation people were becoming throughout the entirety of, this is before the Biden administration, in Trump's first term, dealing with these Obama holdovers, people like James Clapper, Jim Comey, Andrew McCabe, John Brennan, these guys who wronged Trump. And again, I say that as somebody who's not a big fan of Trump these days. Something was done to him that was contrary to our system. And part of the whole thing about the righteous indignation that I'm talking about is people were getting so upset and so irate and so frustrated and wanting things to be sorted out, wanted somebody to go in and sheriff up the place. You've got to get somebody who is honorable into the position of power to do that. And this is what it all comes down to. What Dave Smith just said is important, but at the same time, it's like, what if he did go in and fail? And he failed to do these things. Not that he actively covered up, which ultimately he did. Once you have the power, you have the responsibility. These people are failing in that. They're not understanding because they're not decent people. They're not honorable people. We believe Dan was, and that it was such a good thing that he was going to be at the FBI. We got to remember that. It's the Spider-Man deal. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right here. And that's why he exposed himself, tarnished his reputation so much to the point that I don't think it's salvageable. The only reason he gets so many reactions is he has over 7 million followers on Twitter. We'll see if he runs his show again. But again, I don't think he's ever going to touch the Epstein issue unless he just makes excuses for it or covers it up more from the.
But see, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. It doesn't matter. This is like the third rail or whatever you call it. Who is going to be able to listen to a guy who covered up for a pedophile ring? Not me. This isn't just, like I said about the corruption a minute ago, this isn't just corruption. This is about the worst thing there is. You were privy to the worst thing that there is. you were a cop who could have done something about it. But in the end, you didn't do much of anything.
The microphone, I guess, at this point, but I don't think he's going to go near those topics anymore. Like I said, he's going to tackle every other subject in government, the deep state issues, and
stuff that you really can't do anything about
now if he continues to run a show. And look, Dave Smith,
very convenient,
is right. It used to be much easier for a lot of these charlatans like the clappers and like Fauci and people that go on these cable news shows, John Bolton, and they're actually treated with respect. It actually used to be easier for them to hide their crimes and just go along like nothing happened. But now with the new independent media, their idiocy, their duplicity, and their evil gets exposed to a level that they're easier to berate. They're easier to denounce. People like Dave Smith and hell, this show have the ability to get out there and broadcast that. We're not the only ones. There's thousands of people that do that. So it's not as easy for them to just blend into society as a chameleon once they've completely betrayed the masses that once supported them.
He was the anti-deep state guy and then proved you're the deep state. And I mean, look, the guy was a Secret Service agent and then an FBI.
This is so ridiculous that I could just see Dan looking back across the table, pointing his fingers. No, I'm not the deep state. You are. He's going to probably do that on one of his first podcasts back. You watch.
And by the way, do you think all the time with Hillary Clinton guarding her as a Secret Service agent is what made him so deranged? I think there might be something to it here. What does Hillary Clinton know about Dan
Evil
Bongino,
communications, corrupt good manners. Yeah.
I don't know.
An inside baseball diss that he's at Fauci levels of credibility.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, I think so. I think, and look, I do think this was like a good.
That's bad. Fauci level is bad.
Example of it today, and he particularly he disgusted a lot of people in his own base who are like, yo, what? I mean, like, look, it even writes itself. It's like, dude, where was all this heat for the fucking deep state criminals, dude? Oh, your beef is just with me.
Well, that is the ultimate truth here. And
that's another thing. It's the transparency of it all. I keep talking about the social media aspect. It's like, did you ever go on these crash out, profanity laced, these rage outs at anybody in the deep state? Or did you do that on social media directed at your bosses or at the system hamstringing you and not letting you do what needed to be done? Or is it just people speaking their mind on the internet that you want to complain about and get rowdy about? It's kind of telling.
I think that's the irony, is that Dan Bongino on Twitter in the last 2 days displayed more ire, indignation, and rage toward Dave Smith.
More angry about Dave Smith than he is about Epstein.
Than the pedophiles that he promised to expose on behalf of all of us. He's more mad at Dave Smith than he was for Epstein or his collaborators that he could have exposed. He could have played a role in bringing transparency out about that, but no, he decided to cover up for the deep state and the 9+ collaborators with Epstein that we know about from these leaks. He decided to cover up for Epstein's linkages to Israel. He decided to cover up for deep state supervillains intertwined in our intelligence services, running the world as a transnational security elite above the government we elect. That is what he did. That's what his role was. And he's more angry at Dave Smith than them. That tells all.
Your beef is with a comedian who called you out for your bullshit. And look, he knows I'm sitting here challenging him to debate. He's spending all this time talking about me. He knows he won't do that. Here, let's keep playing.
It's a big deal that way. And there's a cost to that. And the cost you see is in, polling numbers around the midterms. You can't let this negative vibe constantly set in. That doesn't mean healthy debates about.
Screw your midterms, because you destroyed and tanked the Trump administration. You were part of it. It's the debasement of the currency and the wars and the Epstein cover-up.
Don't be negative. Come on, don't be so negative.
You were part of that. That will tank your ratings. It's not us pointing that out and being.
It reminded me of the left. I'm glad this is getting kind of boring, I know, but at the same time, I'm glad I'm listening to the whole thing again because it's reminding me of things I wouldn't remember to say otherwise. It reminds me of when the leftists in the news media would express their outrage over you pointing out their offenses. It's like the guy who he's on the verge of getting arrested. He found the dead body. He didn't murder the guy. He's pointing out, hey, somebody's been killed over here, and they're looking at you. Why are you disturbing the peace? Why are you bringing this unpleasantness upon us? Why are you talking about these bad things? Hey, somebody's been killed here. It's you. It's your problem. You're the problem for pointing out the wrongdoing, not, hey, there's a murderer around here. We got to find this guy. No, it's you pointing out something bad that's happened. Like you did it when you didn't. You're just pointing it out, but you're the problem because you're pointing out something that's gone wrong.
Truthful about it and accurate about it. It was you, Dan.
Our policy are not welcome. Hey, I'm not
here. Pause it. So then listen. Now this is the other thing that they do. Oh my God, it's so good. So first of all, just watch the trickery and just literally, guys, for a second, just think about how stupid this argument is. What he's saying. He goes, there's a cost to all you guys complaining about this. And the cost is, look at the poll numbers. We're going to get killed in the midterms. Oh, it's our fault. It's our fault that you guys took the greatest political opportunity in modern American history when the Democrats were absolutely defeated.
Oh, it was horrible. I mean, they were beaten into the ground by all that's happened. I'm so glad he's saying this. It's historic. You've never seen such a yin yang back and forth extreme from one point to another in my whole life as what's gone on between the Biden and Trump administrations. The only thing that the Republicans could have done after circumstances considered a gift from God Almighty, if you want to, had given them on a silver platter, hey, look what the Democrats have done. They're covering up for a president who is obviously mentally enfeebled. They're running up your debt. They're letting your cities go to pieces. They're involving themselves in gender dysphoria. Boys and men dressing up like women. They're ruining you internationally. They're doing all these things and just ruining everything. And here it's like a gift to the Republicans. They can't possibly mess this up. Oh, wait, there is one thing that's worse than all that. Covering up for an international pedophile ring. Face palm.
Down and out on the mat. The Democrats had a 24% approval rating after they pretended that Weekend at Bernie's guy was sharp as a tack and then ran the dumbest bitch in the history of politics. They were humiliated for a generation, and you guys fucked up so bad that they're going to win at the end of this year. And that's how you buried a story about a
probably are going to win.
Pedophile. You like the nerve of you, motherfucker.
Build a website you love.
Yeah, we're not doing the ads. We're not doing the ads.
Well, Dave's laying into it, but I can't say I disagree with him at all. I mean, to blame us, despite it was the Trump administration that...
It's our fault, you see. It's the fault of people like you and me. It's our fault that these things happened. It's us. Aren't you about tired of having people treat you like that? Aren't you about tired of being browbeat by these same people over and over again? I know I am. And they expect me to support them and send them money and vote for them. Not going to happen.
Squandered every advantage that Trump was given under a story of essentially the greatest political comeback of all time, or at least up there in terms of that distinction in American politics, certainly in the last century. Totally squandering it. Principally among Trump's base with the Epstein scandal, the Epstein cover-up. Let's just call it what it is. That, according to polls, peeled away more support from Trump from among his base than any other issue. Guess who played a principal role in that? You, Dan Bongino. So yeah, it's not our fault that the midterms might go south for you in the GOP. They should go south for you in the GOP. I'm not a fan of the other guys either, but guess whose fault it is? It's not mine for daring to talk about this, point it out, and be truthful and accurate about it. It's your fault for going into the deep state, not only failing and saying and trying to get to the bottom of it, and then telling the truth if you have, people in the government that work for you or work above you trying to cover it up. You didn't tell the truth about that. You decided to collude with them in the cover-up. You decided to join the cover-up. You're no different from them. You're no different from the Comeys and Brennans. And
ooh, that hurts. That hurts bad. To start naming names like that, Comey and Brennan, ooh.
Clappers, you're no different from them whatsoever. For the Christopher
No better. You're definitely no better.
Rays, not whatsoever. And one other thing that Dave Smith is so accurate about, I think, in this video is the fact that we in the independent media, those who have podcasts and those who post on Twitter, big influencers, etc., our currency that we trade in is the truth. Dave talks about that a lot, and it's so accurate that all we have is the truth. That's all we have. That's what we have to stand up against these monolithic corporate media entities. And it's what's frankly brought them down, is that the independent media in many circles has been far more truthful than them. We get to the evils of the deep state and the war-making, empire-building regime in a way that those don't. So we trade in the truth. It's all we have. So when you don't trade in the truth and you become what you've attacked for so many years, as Dan Bongino did on his show, you lose all credibility. Dan Bongino's credibility didn't kill itself. It was his doing.
That is funny. That is a funny way to say that.
It was Dan Bongino that brought this on himself, and all the Twitter rage outs will never fix that. It'll never provide the remedy. So what you see here is pure projection. It will be Dan Bongino's children that grow up and learn that their father was involved in covering up a sex trafficking arrangement involving the most powerful people on earth, despite saying that he would get to the bottom of it and that we shouldn't let up on it. That's what they will find out. And nothing he says about Dave Smith or his children being in danger will prove to be accurate. It's
weird thing to say, Dan.
It's going to come back to bite you, Dan. So I can't wait. I think there might be more crash outs on this. I hope it happens.
Woo.
I haven't been banned by Dan Bongino yet, but maybe that will happen soon, because a lot of my friends on Twitter have.
A lot of them
posted
have.
mountains of those, that black image showing that you have been blocked by Dan Bongino. I haven't had my turn yet. Maybe I'll have it, but that's where I see it. What do you guys think, though? Is Dave Smith right about this? Is there going to be any ounce of an audience that Dan Bongino can salvage in a potential,
Yes. I don't know that they're going to be lighting up the live stream like they did before. I know I, for one, I'm not going to ever be able to hear that announcer thing, Dan Bongino, ever again. But like I said before, there's probably an audience of much older people. I mean, people who are just really out of it, over the hill baby boomers, Fox News addicts, who can at least comfort him. Like, oh, you tried, you did your best, Dan, or something like that. Somebody will listen to him, but the glory days are over, and I think he's going to know it.
Rumble return. Do you think that's really going to happen? That he's going to start a show again and he'll actually try to talk about deep state issues? Because I don't just think that can happen. I think his credibility is ruined. And this consecutive ratioing of an account with 7 times the followers of Dave Smith is pretty part and parcel and indicative of that stance, I would say. But what do you guys think?
That says it all, when somebody who has much less than you is getting overwhelming support and what they're saying over what you're saying. That really says it.
Let me know in the comments down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to Dave Smith. Great episode, great subject. It's fun to be in this timeline, to watch this stuff play out. I hope there's more opportunities to humiliate Dave, or humiliate Dan in front of everyone. So we'll see. Also, if you like this video, please
I don't want to humiliate anybody. Unfortunately, Dan is doing a pretty good job of that himself.
Consider joining as a member. You can do that by clicking the join button below. If you do that, you can help support the channel. And if you do, I'll graciously appreciate it, and also give you access to all my videos before they go live on YouTube. You'll be able to see those members only videos right away if you do. And also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, click the link in the description below. That'll send you to a website. On that website, just plug in your email. I'll send you a full PDF copy of that book free of charge, the full book, no obligation or cost, just because I appreciate you. And look, my demands are simple. Don't apologize for them. It's no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.
Okay, so that was Liberty Vault, and I've really taken a liking to him over the past few weeks. I've been watching him respond, or not respond, but react very well spoken, very well informed to different videos. A lot of the same stuff that I listen to, I notice he listens to, and then he makes these reaction videos. So that was Liberty Vault. Appreciate him. And that's all I got for tonight, folks. I'm definitely going to be making either a video, if not a live stream, as it's the 26th of January. So it's almost time for Dan to make his big return. I almost was about to say his much vaunted, or however you say it, the fanfare. No, I'm getting the wording wrong. The much hyped return of Dan Bongino. Yeah, I've already said everything I can say, folks. Thank you so much for listening to me tonight, listening to me rant and rave and comment on these videos. I'm going to get into a couple more. Again, I don't know if it'll be a regular video or a live stream, but there's a little bit more to be said about this stuff. And I had fun live streaming tonight. I pay Rumble, and StreamYard, so it's about time I got back on here and started doing more live streaming. So yeah, that's all I can say about Dan Bongino for tonight. And yeah, it's just a sad state of affairs, but it's what we got to deal with for now. Till next time, thank you so much for listening to me. Take care.